The old human warship drifted silently in the darkness of space, its dark hull barely visible against the backdrop of distant stars. Captain Ross stood on the bridge of his salvage ship, the Lucky Find, staring at the massive vessel through the main viewport. His green scales reflected the soft blue light of the ship's displays as he studied the readings. "What do you make of it, Marcus?" Ross asked his first officer, who was busy analyzing the scan data. Marcus flicked his tail in amusement. "It's definitely human-made, Captain. Dating suggests it's about 200 years old. Systems appear completely dead. No power signatures, no active shields, nothing. Just another piece of space junk." The human ship was huge, nearly twice the size of their salvage vessel. Its hull bore the faded markings UES Thunder in an ancient human script. Battle scars marked its surface, telling tales of long-forgotten conflicts. "Bring us closer," Ross ordered, his eyes gleaming with the prospect of profit. Old human tech might be primitive, but the materials alone will fetch a good price at the Galactic Union markets. As the Lucky Find moved closer, they got their first good look at the Thunder. Its design was unlike modern ships, all sharp angles and thick armor plating instead of the sleek, energy-shielded vessels used by the Galactic Union. Large gun emplacements dotted its hull, their barrels cold and lifeless. Engineer Tom's voice crackled over the ship's comm. "Captain, these readings are interesting. The hull is made of materials we still use today, but the composition is different, more complex than it needs to be." "Humans were always inefficient," Marcus laughed. "They built everything like they were preparing for a war with the universe itself." Ross nodded in agreement. "That's why they never made it to the big leagues. Too focused on military might, not enough on diplomatic relations. Now they're just another minor species in the Union." The salvage team prepared for boarding. They wore standard environment suits, not even bothering with combat gear. After all, what threat could a dead human warship pose? Their shuttle approached one of the Thunder's auxiliary airlocks, magnetic clamps engaging with a dull thunk that echoed through their hull. "Look at this airlock system," Tom said as he worked on the manual override. "Physical locks and mechanical seals. How did they ever think they could compete with modern quantum-sealed doors?" The airlock finally creaked open, revealing a dark corridor beyond. Their suit lights illuminated dust particles floating in the zero gravity, undisturbed for centuries until now. The team's boots made hollow sounds against the metal deck plating as they entered. "Split up," Ross commanded. "Marcus, check the bridge. Tom, head to engineering. I'll take the crew quarters. Look for anything valuable, especially data storage devices. The Union's historians might pay well for those." As they moved deeper into the ship, their lights revealed more of the Thunder's interior. The corridors were wide enough for 4 people to walk side by side, with handles and rails everywhere for zero-gravity movement. Warning signs in human languages lined the walls, their red and yellow colors still bright after all these years. Tom's voice came through their comms, tinged with confusion. "Captain, you should see this. Their engine room. It's massive, much bigger than needed for a ship this size. And these aren't standard fusion drives. The configuration is all wrong." "Probably just over-engineered," Ross replied. "You know how humans were, always making things more complicated than necessary." Marcus chimed in from the bridge. "Bridge secured, Captain. You should see all these manual controls. Actual physical buttons and levers. It's like a museum of obsolete technology." Ross shook his head as he explored the crew quarters. Hard to believe humans once thought they could challenge the more advanced species with ships like this. No wonder they got relegated to their little corner of space. None of them noticed the subtle power fluctuations in their scanner readings. None of them paid attention to the small, blinking light that had started pulsing deep within the ship's core. And none of them understood the true meaning of the warning signs they so casually dismissed. The Thunder may have appeared dead, but appearances can be deceiving. And this old human warship had a lot of surprises left in store for its unwary visitors. The salvage team continued their exploration of the UES Thunder, their footsteps echoing through the empty corridors. Engineer Tom had made his way deeper into the engine room, his scanner beeping quietly as he worked. Something about this ship didn't make sense, but he couldn't figure out what. "Captain," Tom called over the comm, "I found something strange. There are markings here, warnings in human script. They're different from the usual signs." "What kind of warnings?" Ross asked, his voice crackling through the comm system. Tom's light moved across the red letters painted on a sealed door. "It says, danger. CLSXCONTANNENT. Authorized DPRZONL only. I've never seen this classification before." "Humans love their security classifications," Marcus said with a laugh. "They probably mark their food storage as top secret." But Tom wasn't laughing. He had worked on hundreds of salvage operations, and something felt wrong. The engine layout didn't match any known human designs. The power conduits were too big, the cooling systems too advanced. It was as if someone had tried to hide a modern engine inside an ancient shell. In another part of the ship, Captain Ross was checking the crew quarters. His scanner picked up traces of power, very faint, but definitely there. "That's impossible," he muttered. "All systems should be dead after 200 years. He found a personal computer terminal in one of the rooms. To his surprise, it still had power, just enough to show a dim red light. When he touched the screen, a message appeared. "Warning. Unauthorized access detected. Security protocols in effect. Please enter command authorization." Ross snorted. Ancient security systems, useless against modern tech. He pulled out his bypass tool, a device that could crack any old human encryption. The tool sparked and died as soon as he plugged it in. On the bridge, Marcus was having his own strange experiences. He had settled into the captain's chair, mocking the primitive control panels, when he noticed something odd. The dust on some of the controls was disturbed, as if someone had used them recently. "Captain," Marcus called, "I think we should run a life sign scan again. Something's not right here." "What do you mean?" Ross asked. "The dust patterns. They're wrong." And Marcus paused as his scanner picked up a new reading. "I'm detecting power fluctuations. They're getting stronger." Tom's voice cut in, panic evident in his tone. "Captain, the engine room. Something's happening. The power readings are climbing. But that's not the worst part. I found a cryopod, hidden behind some fake panels. It's active." Ross felt his scales tingle with unease. "Everyone, back to the airlock. Now." But as they turned to leave, the ship's emergency lights suddenly flickered to life. Red warning lights began pulsing along the corridors. A deep humming sound filled the air as more systems started powering up. "Impossible," Marcus whispered. "This ship is supposed to be dead." The computer terminals around them lit up one by one. A mechanical voice echoed through the ship's speakers. "Power restoration sequence initiated. Command presence detected. Awaiting authorization." Tom was running through the corridors, his scanner forgotten in his panic. "Captain, the power readings, they're off the scale. This ship has more power than our entire salvage fleet combined." Ross tried to contact their ship. "Lucky find. Prepare for emergency pickup." Only static answered him. The lighting changed from red to a steady blue. More systems came online, displays showing information in human script, scrolling too fast to read. The humming grew louder, and they could feel the deck plates vibrating under their feet. "Marcus, where are you?" Ross called over the comm. "Still on the bridge," Marcus replied, his voice shaking. "Captain, you need to see this. The cryopod Tom found. It's opening." Through the ship's internal cameras, they watched in horror as steam poured from the opening cryopod. A figure in an old human military uniform was emerging, moving with purpose despite having been frozen for centuries. The mechanical voice spoke again. "Command presence confirmed. Welcome back, Commander James." The salvage team realized too late that they hadn't found a derelict ship. They had awakened something that had been waiting, watching, and preparing for the right moment to reveal its true nature. And now, they were trapped inside it. Steam rolled across the bridge as Commander James stepped out of the cryopod. He was tall for a human, wearing a dark blue uniform with gold rank markings on the shoulders. Despite being frozen for 2 centuries, he moved smoothly, his eyes sharp and alert. Marcus pressed himself against the bridge wall, his scales pale with fear. The human's presence filled the room with an authority he couldn't explain. Commander James looked at him, then at the captain's chair Marcus had been sitting in earlier. "You're trespassing on a military vessel," James said, his voice calm but firm. "Identify yourself." Before Marcus could answer, Captain Ross's voice came through the comm. "This is Captain Ross of the salvage ship Lucky Find. We have legal rights to salvage derelict vessels in this sector." James walked to the captain's chair, running his hand along the armrest. "The Thunder is not derelict. She's exactly where she's supposed to be, doing exactly what she's meant to do." In the engine room, Tom watched in amazement as systems he'd thought dead hummed to life. Panels that had seemed primitive now glowed with hidden displays. What looked like simple pipes were revealing themselves to be advanced technology he couldn't understand. "Captain," Tom said into his comm, "these systems, they're not primitive at all. They're disguised. All of it is disguised." Commander James pressed a few buttons on the chair's armrest. Holographic screens appeared in the air, showing the locations of all 3 salvage crew members. "Your engineer is correct. The Thunder is a wolf in sheep's clothing, as we humans like to say." Ross tried to keep his voice steady. "What do you mean? What is this ship?" "A prototype," James answered, walking to the main viewport. "Humanity's answer to a question no one knew we were asking. While the galaxy laughed at our primitive technology, we were building something different, something special." The lights throughout the ship grew brighter. Hidden panels slid open, revealing rows of advanced weapons. The engine's hum changed pitch, becoming deeper, more powerful. 200 years ago, James continued, humanity realized we couldn't compete with alien technology directly. We were too far behind. So we tried something else. We made our weakness our strength. We built ships that looked old, primitive, harmless. Ships that no one would look at twice. Tom's scanner started beeping frantically. "Captain, the power readings, they're higher than anything I've ever seen." "This ship," James said, "has more firepower than a modern battle fleet. But we hid it all behind a facade of outdated technology. The perfect trap for an overconfident enemy." Ross felt his confidence crumbling. "If what you're saying is true, why are you telling us? Why not just destroy us?" James turned to face the cameras, knowing the alien captain could see him. "Because you're not our enemy. Not yet. Consider this a warning and a lesson. Humanity didn't disappear from galactic politics because we were weak. We stepped back because we chose to." Suddenly, alarms blared through both ships. The Lucky Find's computer was sending an automated distress signal. 3 pirate ships had just dropped out of faster-than-light travel nearby. "Perfect timing," James said, a small smile crossing his face. "Now you get to see what this old relic can really do." Marcus looked at the tactical display, his heart racing. The pirate ships were known in this sector, heavily armed raiders with the latest weapons. Against them, an ancient human warship wouldn't stand a chance. Or so he had thought 10 minutes ago. "You have 2 choices," James announced to the salvage crew. "Return to your ship and take your chances with the pirates, or stay here and witness what humanity has been hiding all these years." The deck plates vibrated as more systems powered up. What had seemed like decorative panels on the walls now shifted, revealing missile tubes and energy weapon ports. The bridge transformed around them, primitive buttons and levers sliding away to show advanced control systems. "Time to decide," James said, settling into the captain's chair. "Those pirates will be in weapons range in 5 minutes, and the Thunder, well, she's been sleeping for a very long time. She's eager to stretch her legs." The salvage crew looked at each other through their ship's cameras. They had come looking for scrap metal, and instead found one of humanity's biggest secrets. Now they had to choose: risk death in space, or trust the ancient human warship they had so recently mocked. The pirates were getting closer, and time was running out. The pirate ships grew larger on the Thunder's view screen, their sleek hulls bristling with modern weapons. Captain Ross watched them approach, his scaled hands gripping the bridge railing. "Those are Black Star Raiders," he said grimly. "Latest shield technology, plasma cannons. They've destroyed entire defense fleets." Commander James nodded, his fingers dancing over the newly revealed control panels. 3 ships, heavily armed, overconfident. He looked up at Ross. "Just like you were when you found us." The Thunder's engines pulsed with deep power. Hidden weapon ports slid open along its hull, but kept their power signatures masked. From the outside, the ship still looked dead and harmless. "Your ship," James said to Ross. "Get your crew inside it. Dock it in our secondary bay." Marcus checked the tactical display. "The pirates will be in firing range in 2 minutes. We'll never get the lucky find into your bay in time." James smiled. "Trust me." "Tom, how are those engines looking?" In the engine room, Tom stood surrounded by holographic displays showing power levels he'd never seen before. "It's incredible. The power core isn't fusion or antimatter. It's something else, something new, or something very, very old. Quantum fold technology," James explained. "Abandoned by most races as too unstable, we perfected it instead of giving up." The pirates' first communication came through, filling the bridge with a harsh voice. "Salvage vessel Lucky Find. Your ship and cargo are now our property. Surrender or be destroyed." Ross looked at his own ship's readings. Their shields wouldn't last 10 seconds against the pirates' weapons. "Commander James, what's your plan?" "Watch and learn." James pressed a series of controls. "First, we save your ship." A beam of blue light shot from the Thunder, enveloping the Lucky Find. Before anyone could react, the salvage ship vanished and reappeared inside the Thunder's massive bay. "Quantum teleportation," James said casually. "Another unstable technology we mastered." The pirates opened fire. Plasma bolts streaked toward the Thunder, aimed at its seemingly defenseless hull. Ross closed his eyes, expecting destruction. Instead, he heard James laugh. "Time to wake up, old friend." The Thunder roared to life. What looked like battle damage on its hull glowed with hidden energy. The plasma bolts hit an invisible barrier and dissipated harmlessly. "Impossible," Marcus gasped. "Those shields, they're not even rippling from the impact." Tom's voice came through the comm, filled with awe. "Captain, the power readings. The Thunder was only using 2% of its capacity before. Now it's at 15% and rising." The pirate ships launched another volley. This time, parts of the Thunder's hull seemed to absorb the attacks, gathering their energy. James watched calmly as the pirates emptied their weapons. "A good hunter," he said, "waits for the right moment to strike." Humanity learned to be very good hunters. The pirates' attack slowed as they realized their weapons were having no effect. Their leader's voice came through again, less confident now. "What kind of ship is this?" James opened a channel to respond. "This is Commander James of the UES Thunder. You are attacking a human military vessel. Withdraw immediately." Laughter came through the channel. "A human relic. We eat ships like yours for breakfast." "No," James said quietly. "You really don't." He pressed a single button. The Thunder's hull transformed. Layers of fake armor fell away, revealing gleaming weapon ports. Points of light appeared all along its length as hidden systems activated. The pirate ships tried to turn away, but it was too late. The Thunder fired. Not the crude projectiles or simple energy beams they expected, but streams of quantum-folded space that ignored their shields completely. The first pirate ship's engines exploded. The second lost all power. The third managed to turn halfway before a precision strike disabled its weapons. Ross, Marcus and Tom stared in amazement. The entire battle had lasted less than 30 seconds. "That's impossible," Marcus whispered. "Their shields were top of the line." "Shields don't matter," James explained, "when your weapons bend space itself. The Thunder doesn't need to overpower defenses. She simply goes around them." As the disabled pirate ships drifted helplessly, James turned to the salvage crew. "Now then, shall we have a real conversation about humanity's place in the galaxy?" The aliens looked at each other, their earlier mockery of human technology forgotten. They had much to learn, and Commander James was just getting started. With the pirate ships disabled and drifting, Commander James led the salvage crew through the Thunder's true command center. Hidden behind what they had thought was a storage room, it was a marvel of technology that made their most advanced ships look primitive. "I don't understand," Tom said, running his scanner over the walls. "These systems, they're not in any database. They shouldn't even be possible." James walked to a central platform, where a holographic display showed the surrounding space in perfect detail. When humanity realized we couldn't catch up to alien technology, we chose a different path. Instead of copying others, we explored ideas everyone else had abandoned. The chamber hummed with power. What appeared to be simple metal walls were actually layers of quantum-processed materials. Every surface served multiple purposes, each system interconnected in ways that defied conventional engineering. "Look here," James said, touching a control panel. A section of the wall became transparent, revealing the engine core. While others pushed their fusion reactors to the limit, we learned to fold space itself. The Thunder doesn't just move through space, it reshapes it. Ross watched as energy patterns flowed through the ship's systems. But why hide it? Why pretend to be weak? "Because," James smiled, "the best weapon is the one your enemy doesn't know exists. The Thunder is more than a warship. It's a proof of concept. There are others like her out there, hidden throughout the galaxy, waiting." Marcus, who had been quiet since the battle, finally spoke. "The border skirmishes 20 years ago, the mysterious ship sightings, that was you." "Some of them." James brought up another display showing various ship designs. "The Thunder was the first, but not the last. We built an entire fleet disguised as outdated cruisers, cargo ships, even space debris, always watching, always ready." Tom studied the engine readings with professional interest. "The power core. It's not just for weapons, is it?" "No," James confirmed. "Watch this." He pressed several controls in sequence. The Thunder's hull began to change. What looked like battle scars and rust vanished, revealing a pristine surface that seemed to absorb light itself. The bulky, primitive-looking weapons transformed into elegant arrays of quantum projectors. "Programmable matter," James explained. "The entire ship can transform based on our needs. Those clumsy gun ports you laughed at, they're actually quantum fold generators capable of reaching through space-time itself." Ross remembered their initial scans of the ship, the odd power readings in the hull, the strange material compositions. "All part of the disguise," James nodded. "Every flaw you found was carefully designed. Even your scanner's confusion was intentional. The Thunder shows you what you expect to see, until it's too late." Alert sounded, and James checked the displays. "Speaking of which, Tom, would you like to see what a quantum fold drive really looks like at full power?" Tom nodded eagerly, his earlier fear replaced by scientific curiosity. James led them to a viewing port overlooking the engine room. The massive chamber glowed with streams of energy that seemed to bend reality itself. "Traditional engines push against space," James said. "Ours reaches out and pulls space toward us. Distance becomes meaningless. Time becomes flexible." The ship hummed as power levels rose. Through the viewing port, they watched reality twist and bend. Stars seemed to move in impossible ways. Space itself folded like paper in an origami master's hands. "This is why we withdrew from galactic politics," James continued. "Not because we were weak, but because we needed time. Time to perfect these technologies. Time to build our hidden fleet. Time to prepare for the day when the galaxy would need us. The salvage crew watched in stunned silence as the Thunder demonstrated more of its capabilities. Systems they had dismissed as primitive revealed themselves to be centuries ahead of anything they knew. What they had thought was a relic was actually a glimpse of the future. The question now, James said, turning to face them, is what happens next. You've seen what humanity is capable of. You know our secrets. So tell me, Captain Ross, what do you think the galaxy will do when they learn that humans aren't as primitive as they thought? The aliens looked at each other, understanding dawning in their eyes. They hadn't found a forgotten relic of humanity's past. They had stumbled upon humanity's best-kept secret, and the galaxy would never be the same. The moment of truth arrived sooner than expected. Long-range sensors detected multiple ships dropping out of faster-than-light travel. The pirates had called for reinforcements. 7 battlecruisers, Marcus announced from his new position at the sensor station. Latest Galactic Union designs. They're armed for war. Commander James remained calm, studying the tactical display. Captain Ross, you've seen modern ships in battle. What would you expect their first move to be? Ross watched the approaching fleet's formation. They'll try to surround us. Standard Union tactics. Create a sphere of fire, then close the net. Exactly. James smiled. They think in 3 dimensions. We think in 11. He turned to Tom at the engineering station. Power status. Tom's eyes were wide as he read the displays. We're only at 30% capacity, Commander. The Thunder. She's barely stretching. The enemy fleet spread out, just as Ross had predicted. Their ships were sleek and powerful, each one carrying enough firepower to level a small moon. They moved with practiced precision, their formation perfect. Last chance to surrender. The enemy commander's voice boomed through the comm. Your antique cannot stand against modern warships. James looked at his alien guests. Would you like to see what this antique can really do? Before they could answer, the enemy fleet opened fire. Hundreds of energy beams and plasma torpedoes streaked toward the Thunder. The salvage crew held their breath, even knowing what the ship was capable of. First lesson, James said calmly, never be where your enemy expects. The Thunder flickered. There was no other word for it. One moment it was in the center of the enemy formation. The next it seemed to exist in multiple places at once. The massive barrage of weapons passed harmlessly through afterimages. Quantum state uncertainty, James explained. The Thunder exists in multiple positions simultaneously. They can't hit what they can't pin down. Marcus stared at his readings. The power requirement for that should be enormous, but we're still only at 35% capacity. Our turn, James said. His fingers danced over the controls. Let's show them what humanity learned while they weren't looking. The Thunder's hull rippled. What had seemed like decorative patterns realigned into weapon arrays unlike anything the aliens had seen. Space itself seemed to bend around the ship. Quantum fold torpedoes, James announced. They don't travel through space. They fold space around themselves. Streams of golden light erupted from the Thunder. The enemy ships tried to evade, their shields at maximum power. It didn't matter. The quantum torpedoes simply curved space around their defenses, appearing inside their shield perimeters. 3 enemy ships lost power immediately. 2 more spun out of control as their engines failed. The remaining 2 tried to retreat. They're running, Ross exclaimed. No, James said. They're about to try something desperate. Watch. The 2 remaining ships turned sharply, their engines glowing bright enough to blind. They were attempting a suicide run. Admirable, James nodded, but unnecessary. He pressed a single button. The Thunder's hull transformed again. This time, it seemed to fade from reality itself. The charging enemy ships passed right through where it had been, their kamikaze run wasted. Phase shifting, Tom whispered. You can make the entire ship shift out of normal spacetime. Among other things, James brought the Thunder back into normal space behind the enemy vessels. Now, let's end this properly. The ship's quantum fold generators pulsed one final time. Instead of weapons, they created bubbles of altered space around the enemy ships. Inside these bubbles, time slowed to a crawl. They're frozen in time, Marcus realized. Trapped in temporal stasis. James nodded. A much better option than destruction. They'll be fine when we release them, though they'll have some interesting stories to tell. The battle was over. 7 of the most advanced ships in the galaxy, defeated by what they had thought was an obsolete relic. The salvage crew looked at their human host with new understanding and respect. And that, James said, was just a demonstration. The Thunder has many more surprises left. The real question is, are you ready to learn what humanity has really been doing all these years? The aliens nodded slowly, realizing they stood at the beginning of a new era, one where humanity's supposed weakness was revealed as its greatest deception. 3 months after the battle, Captain Ross stood before the Galactic Union Council. The Grand Chamber was packed with representatives from hundreds of species, all eager to hear about the incident with the human warship. And you maintain, the council leader asked, that this single vessel defeated 7 modern battlecruisers without sustaining any damage. Ross stood firm. Not only defeated them, but did so using technology we thought impossible. Everything we thought we knew about human capabilities was wrong. The chamber erupted in worried murmurs. Tom and Marcus, standing behind their captain, nodded in agreement. The evidence they had brought, sensor readings, visual recordings, and detailed scans, had shocked the Union's best scientists. The Thunder wasn't unique, Tom added when given permission to speak. Commander James showed us records. There are others out there, hidden in plain sight. Ships we've passed 100 times, thinking they were just old human vessels or space debris. The council leader leaned forward. Are you suggesting that humanity has maintained a secret fleet all these years? More than a fleet, Marcus said. They've developed technology that makes our most advanced systems look primitive. They can fold space, manipulate time, and shift between realities. On a large screen behind them, images of the Thunder played. The council watched in silence as the seemingly obsolete warship transformed, its true form finally revealed. The quantum fold technology, the phase-shifting abilities, the temporal stasis fields, all of it was beyond anything the Union had thought possible. Why reveal this now? Another council member asked. Why did they let us find out? Ross thought about Commander James's last words to him before they parted ways. They said it was time. That the galaxy is changing and greater challenges are coming. Humanity didn't withdraw from galactic politics because they were weak. They did it to prepare. The chamber grew quiet as the implications sank in. For centuries, they had dismissed humans as a minor species, stuck with outdated technology and limited capabilities. Now they realized that humanity had been quietly advancing beyond anything they had imagined. There's more, Tom added. The quantum fold technology they developed. It wasn't abandoned by ancient races because it was unstable. It was abandoned because it was a doorway to something bigger. Humanity didn't just make it work. They used it to discover new laws of physics. The council leader's scales had paled considerably. Where is the Thunder now? Unknown, Ross replied. After releasing the captured battlecruisers, it vanished. But Commander James left us with a message for the council. He activated a small holographic projector. Commander James's image appeared in the center of the chamber, his uniform pristine, his expression serious but kind. Greetings, Council of the Galactic Union. By now, you know some of what humanity has achieved. The Thunder's revelation was not an accident. It was an invitation. For centuries, we let you think we were behind, that we couldn't compete. The truth is, we chose a different path. The hologram continued. We developed technologies you thought impossible. We built ships that hide in plain sight. We prepared for threats you haven't yet imagined. And now, we're ready to return to galactic politics, not as the primitive species you once knew, but as equals who took a different road to the future. The message ended with coordinates, the location of a human diplomatic outpost, ready to open formal relations with the Union. "The galaxy is changing," Ross concluded, echoing James's words. "The choice before us is simple. Learn to work with humanity as true equals, or continue to underestimate them at our own risk." As the council chamber erupted in discussion, Ross looked at his crew. They had gone looking for salvage, and instead found humanity's best-kept secret. Their discovery had changed the balance of power in the galaxy forever. Somewhere out there, the Thunder and its sister ships continued their silent watch. No longer relics, but symbols of humanity's incredible journey. They were living proof that sometimes the most powerful force in the universe isn't strength or technology. It's the ability to let others underestimate you until the perfect moment. The age of human weakness was over. The era of quantum-fold technology and hidden fleets had begun, and the galaxy would never be the same.